Welcome back to Ones to Watch on Footy Accumulators, powered by our friends at the Football Index, which is, of course, the stock market for buying and selling shares in players. No surprise, I'm joined, as always, by Sir Alan McInally.
Thank you, Emma.
Thanks for joining us, Al.
Welcome.
Let's get stuck in. Who's our first one to watch this week?
Well, it's hard not to. He's in the papers everywhere. That media dividend will be nice. Mr. Ighalo, who Manchester United have signed on loan, and it's like...
Sprung out of nowhere.
Well... apparently his agent is on his way to Buckingham Palace for a night out because how he's got him to Manchester United is unbelievable. I mean, he's a big Man United fan, and we know him obviously having been at Watford. He's been in China making a few quid, and we'll just see if he can do the business for Manchester United. But he's certainly one on Football Index coming to this country again. You think, hang on a minute.
Well, it gets people talking, and like you say, media dividends, regardless anyway of performance.
Yeah, and of course his share price is bolted up because you join one of the biggest clubs in the world, and we'll just have to see how he does. I mean, there's a bit of pressure on him, and there's pressure on the whole team at Manchester United, but certainly on him individually. If we're looking at put him in any portfolio at Football Index, then you want him to do well. You're
right. He's going to be quite reliant upon the success in the team around him, and they're going to have to sort of pick themselves up and take it up to another notch, aren't they?
Yeah, I agree.
Have a look now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got that graphic.
Yeah.
You go through the graphic.
Well, yeah, Dan James got the most assists. That's 6 in 24 games. Martial 3 in 19, and Lingard at none in 20. Which, if you're a player coming to Man United, you need more than that from your team.
You and I speak about some of the big players, and certainly Manchester United is not far away from envy when you talk about English football, and that is pretty synonymous with the way Manchester United season is at the moment. Dan James, 6 in 24 is not too bad. He's a kid, Dan James, for goodness sake. Just come from, Swansea came from.
He's done brilliantly well.
He's been thrown in, literally, properly
Leeds almost got him.
Well, that's how good he is then, eh?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Martial looks disinterested at times and not certainly the favourite that Manchester are hoping to be. And Jesse Lingard for a year and a half has just not been the player that they thought he was going to be. So he's certainly going to need a little bit more help than that if he's going to score goals for Manchester United.
We know he's capable of scoring goals, though.
Oh, for sure.
40 goals in 100 games for Watford, 20 of the goals in the Championship. But, I mean, that's impressive numbers. And 46 goals in 72 league games in China as well. So the guy's capable.
Funnily enough, when they signed him, I think it might have been on Sky, they showed a few of his goals for Watford, and they were pretty groovy. He was
groovy.
Yeah, he was pretty good, and him and Deeney had a really good, combination between both of them. And it was a couple where he's sort of taken the ball on his own and dropped his shoulder and stuck it in the back of the net. But playing for Manchester United is different than Watford. Certainly different than playing in China for sure. But that kind of stat stands him in good stead, and probably the reason why Man United have gone for him. And after all, he wasn't exactly first choice.
Yeah, he wasn't first choice. We'll have a look now at the other people who potentially were above him, so we can see them on the graphic now. So Glenn Murray,
well, listen, we've thrown Glenn in because I'm delighted he got a new contract at Brighton.
Yeah, good for him.
And deserves it. I mean, he's been fantastic, great servant, probably never going to end up at Manchester United. Rondon, not good enough. Slimani, not really good enough. Edison Cavani, probably going to cost him too much money. And I don't know whether he would want to go to a struggling Manchester United team, to be absolutely honest with you. But the boy Josh King, I think, is one where Man United would be dying to get him. And I think his position at Bournemouth is another player I think we should think about looking at on Football Index, because I don't think he'll be at Bournemouth next year. But having said that, of all the people in front of them, Man United have plumped for Ighalo. And like you said, the stat about the goals he scored is not too bad. But scoring goals for Manchester United, it's a different kind of pressure.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot then.
Why?
How many goals is he going to score before the end of the season?
What, with Europa League as well?
Premier League goals.
That's really difficult. I mean, considering I can't say his fitness is going to be spot on for the Premier League, it might take him a couple of games. What we got, 12, 13?
Yeah, there's not long,
14
not
max
long left.
To go. So let's go, I'll half it and go 50, but 6 goals, 6, 7 goals. And by the way, if he gets 6 or 7 goals for Manchester United, that's probably not enough that Man United are looking for. When strikers at Manchester United, if you talk over 13 games, you're like, well, at least 80% of them should be looking to get double figures. I don't know. I mean, he's going to be a starter, isn't he? He'll start before Dan James. He'll start before Mason Greenwood, which I would love to see Greenwood in the Man United team. I think the boy's different class. He's going to start before Lingard. Rashford's injured. Martial will probably play left or right, regarding whether he plays Dan James or not. So he's going to get starts. Whether or not it hits the back of the net, I don't know.
6 goals? Because we're going to revisit this in a few months, and we'll see if you're right, shall we?
Many goals do you think he'll get?
No, you're not putting me on the spot.
All right, okay.
I'm not doing this. We're putting you on the spot.
Well, in that case, I think he'll get 20 goals.
I like
I'm going to go half a dozen then.
Half a dozen.
And if he gets that, and he's only on loan, will he be at Manchester United next season? I doubt it.
Feel free, to predict how many goals you think he's going to score for the end of the Premier League season. You wouldn't dare, would you?
No.
Now that it's safe to say Ighalo has come from nowhere, well, China, to feature pretty heavily on Football Index recently. So much so that he was actually media dividend winner on Monday, the 3rd of February. That's what we always talk about, media dividends.
We love Football Index for the think of, use your football knowledge to think of who you would like to have in your portfolio. He's come to this country, we know about him, but all of a sudden, because he's gone to somewhere like Manchester, if he goes to maybe another club, it's news, but it's not big news. Manchester United is always big news, and that media dividend just went boom.
Yeah.
So if you've got him in your portfolio, you'd be quite happy with the rise in the sharing price.
It certainly did go boom. His price has increased by over £1 over the last month, as you'd imagine with his move to Manchester United, like Big Al says. Yeah. With it being a 6-month loan, it's hard to predict if he'll remain at Old Trafford next season, but he is certainly one to watch.
Absolutely.
We move on. Who's our next one to watch, Al?
This boy's different class. Loving me bits. Jordan Henderson, who is not the most gifted football player in the world, who's not the most technically gifted football player in the world, but I will guarantee you effort can replace a lot of things. I think he's underrated hugely.
Absolutely.
Although we've spoken before about Jordan Henderson, and you think
he is, and he is massively underrated. He seems to quietly go under the radar, but get the job done very well.
But that's the understatement of Jordan Henderson. I think he's happy to go under the radar, but as a captain of Liverpool Football Club, I don't think Klopp could have wished for better. I really don't. And by the way, when he was signed back 4 or 5, whatever years ago it was, I think it might have been Dalglish that signed him. I can't actually remember who it was now. Liverpool fans were like, okay, he's done all right. Now they're like, he's a proper Liverpool legend. The boy's different class. And in terms of a voice in the dressing room, someone your manager can trust, gets the odd goal.
Couldn't ask for more.
His effort in games for Liverpool, you're right. Well, it's not going under the radar anymore. I think people are realising as Liverpool continue this juggernaut of victories that he is essential to that.
Yeah, well, he's Bookie's favourite now to win PFA Player of the Year.
Not surprised, genuinely. I mean, have we got who's in the running for that then?
We've got Henderson, Van Dijk, Mane, Salah and De Bruyne are all up there. So
Van Dijk, obviously, because he's different class. Mane and Salah score all the goals, for goodness sake, and are both brilliant. Kevin De Bruyne, because he's the best player at Manchester City. That's the kind of players we're going to talk about. Yeah. I think Jordan Henderson wins it by a country mile, and they're all world-class football players. And I just think he is almost a stick-on for PFA Player of the Year this year.
Certainly, and even us talking about that, and that being out there, that media dividend potential that we always talk about, it ties into that, doesn't it?
Well, it does, yeah. Share prices are, fluctuate a little bit naturally with form, and he's a definite starter for Liverpool, but the media dividend side of being the PFA Player of the Year, which incidentally he deserves all day long, will be pretty good. And if you got him on your portfolio, then you'd be pretty excited. Definitely.
We'll have a look at a graphic now as well that shows that only Gerrard and McManaman have had more Premier League assists for Liverpool.
See, I don't actually know. If you'd have said that to me, I'd have been, that can't be right.
Really?
Well, because I know he's good, but I'd have thought the front three might have been, I know he's been there a while, I suppose.
Yeah, he has.
But that just shows you then how influential he is in the team. It's not just about, he's a defensive midfield player. He does so much more for Liverpool. Yeah. And he bagged a couple of goals in the last couple of weeks as well.
He's done all right, Annie. Yeah. Well, you'll know a lot about legends.
Yes.
Because you hang around with them.
Naturally.
If they win the title,
it's not like you to be funny, by the way, but that wasn't too bad.
You know I'm joking. But will he be regarded as a Liverpool legend if they do win the title?
Should be. First, the first captain then? So listen, Liverpool going to win the title. 30 years since they've done it. First captain to raise it. World Cup winner. Club.
Club World Cup.
First to do that as well, naturally. They've won the Champions League, so he'll be the first Champions League championship winner. I mean, it's difficult not to put them in. They have had some players at Liverpool that are astoundingly good and are properly known as legends, and I'm talking about over the last 30 years when they haven't won the title. This boy is a Liverpool legend and should be known as that and will be known as that. And I'll be amazed if he goes anywhere else in his career now. I think there'll be a job for him beyond this, and he'll continue to be in the status of a Gerrard, Robbie Fowler, Graham Souness. I mean, Kenny was a bit different, and you're talking stellar. Yeah. But in terms of what he's done for Liverpool Football Club, this boy's a Liverpool legend all day long.
Which is exactly why he's a one to watch. Now, it's been a big month for Henderson, both on the pitch, but also with his Football Index share price. He's now priced at almost £1 more than he was a month ago.
Yeah, good.
Impressive, that. Now then, if you haven't used Football Index yet and you do fancy giving it a try, but you're not enjoying it within the first 7 days, you can instant